Hey everyone, this is the Criticism Machine. On today's video, I'll be responding to someone who doesn't seem to understand logic or rationality, but don't take my word for it. See for yourself. Enjoy!
Okay, so this is a response video to a comment I got from an atheist on my other video entitled Being Both Christian and Atheist at the Same Time. So, basically the idea is that being an atheist is not a rational decision unless it's because you haven't experienced anything supernatural. It is rational to believe in what you have experienced.
Is that really your standard? Is that all it takes for you to qualify something as being real? What is your metric or method for determining if something is supernatural or not? How do you know it wasn't just a hallucination, or you were simply mistaken or confused? I'm asking all of these questions because if your standard of evidence really is whatever you experience is real, then people with schizophrenia and other psychotic mental illnesses aren't really mentally ill. People under the influence of LSD and other psychedelics aren't really having hallucinations. No, they're just experiencing the supernatural according to you. I truly hope that isn't what your standard is for believing in things, because that would be irrational.
And if you haven't experienced anything, then it would be rational to call yourself an atheist or at least an agnostic. I think agnostic is the most rational you can be when it comes to deciding what the universe is and isn't. It's most rational to say I don't know at this point because I have not personally experienced those things. And it's actually not rational to be an atheist, because to be an atheist you have to pretend that you know what other people... The truth is, you don't really know what other people have experienced or not. You may have no reason to believe, but it is presumptuous to say, because I have not experienced anything, that means those other people who say that they have experienced something are either lying or deluded. Because you are not them, and I don't even need to explain why. It's not rational. You don't have that kind of sight. You can't see into their lives like that. You cannot determine rationally or evidentially that they're deluded or lying.
First of all, you seem to be confused about agnosticism and atheism. Those are not mutually exclusive terms. One can be an agnostic atheist. I'll just let Penn Jillette explain it to you.
Your book is God, No, and one of the things I loved about it is you try to tell us why an agnostic and an atheist need to kind of get together.
Well, agnostic was to begin with a weasel word. Tom Huxley, who was Darwin's bulldog, was going to go out and speak for Darwin. Darwin didn't like confrontation a lot. So he didn't want to say the word atheist, so he said the word agnostic. But agnostic answers a different question than atheist. It's just two different issues. If you're asked, is there a God, and you answer, I don't know, that's agnostic. If you're asked, do you believe in a God, then you have to answer yes or no. And if your answer to the first is I don't know, the answer to the question is pretty much no.
Well, you're introducing logic into this now.
Secondly, no, I can't be certain of whether someone has had a supposedly supernatural experience or not. I'm going to be skeptical until they can prove that it actually happened. This is precisely why we have a requirement called the burden of proof. Not all claims are created equal, of course, but the more unrealistic or extraordinary a claim is, the stronger or better the evidence needs to be before it should be believed. I care about the truth, and the scientific method is the best way for us to determine whether something is true or not. Now, you may not agree with this standard, and that's fine, but using faith has glaring problems. And yes, that's what you're trying to promote here, that we should be accepting of your claims on faith alone. Faith is not a reliable pathway to truth. There is literally no position that I couldn't take on faith. I could claim that I'm a flesh and blood human and not a machine, and that you should just take it on faith. But that wouldn't make it true. And if that wasn't enough, you almost certainly have to realize that all these differing claims and experiences are in conflict with one another. They obviously can't all be true, since the claims of what Christians believe contradict or go against what Muslims, Hindus, and so on believe and claim as well.
So that's the main issue. And the idea that I want to push further is that atheism is really an emotional belief rather than rational belief.
What? I didn't understand a one word you said. Ron, are you okay? Ron. Ron, where are you?
I'm in a glass case of emotion.
Atheism is often based in the desire to shed old beliefs, such as Christianity, the desire to rebel against the former generation and their limiting beliefs, the desire to be your own person and not be constrained by rules that you don't agree with.
Yeah, that's right. Don't think for yourself. Don't question a thing. Just listen and believe what they tell you. Do as you're told, because we wouldn't want to be labeled as rebels, now would we? I don't think you could condescend more if you tried.
And because the idea of the supernatural and the existence of elementals and spirits and guides,
And werewolves, vampires, leprechauns, SpongeBob.
These things are so attached to very specific religions like Christianity, which a person may not like. They dismiss it altogether. They throw the baby out with the bathwater, and that too is not a rational thing to do. Because just because there's one religion out there that has a series of outdated and bigoted and unscientific claims does not mean that all these other things don't exist. That's not rational. You can't jump from rejecting Christianity to rejecting everything, like everything. Yeah, there's nothing rational about that.
Rational arguments don't usually work on religious people. Otherwise, there would be no religious people.
You're an atheist.
Only on Christmas and Easter. The rest of the time, doesn't really matter.
Where's the fun in that? A finite, unmysterious universe.
It's not about fun. It's about the truth.
And again, the only rational foundation you have to stand on is I can't assume anything unless I've seen it. Because seeing is believing. And my channel is all about what I've seen, which is why I believe. And I'm telling you, it's my experience. It may not be yours, but it is my experience. And don't tell me that your reality is the one reality. I mean, we do live in one reality, but your experiences are so different from mine, even though we live in one reality. You know, you have a relationship with certain people that I have no idea exist. I have a certain relationship with beings you have no idea exist. And that's the way it is. And to say my relationship is less real than yours, that's presumptuous, and that's a fallacy of some kind. I forgot my fallacies. So yeah, that's the point of this video, and I await the responses of all faiths and non-faiths. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and comment if you want me to address any further issues.
You can believe whatever you want, but until you can prove what you claim is real, then I don't and I won't take your claims seriously. That's what it all comes down to. And I will oppose this mentality, this unrelenting scourge of superstition and ridiculous claims for which you can never demonstrate to actually exist in the real world. You're right, there is only one reality. The rest of you who believe supernatural bullshit without a shred of demonstrable evidence are living in fantasy land. These ideas do nothing but promote ignorance and irrationality, and give cover for the worst of these ideas which cause real harm and suffering in the world. Do you need some examples of this? Do you need me to show you how your incessant support that such supposed experiences are valid actually influence the real world? Now, I'm not going to read through all of them, but I will link it all below so you can check it all out for yourself. Okay, so the first one is this article. Maria is 20, but she's frail and permanently disabled. She has pulmonary hypertension, and when she's not bedridden, she has to carry an oxygen tank that allows her to breathe. At times, she has had screws in her bones to anchor her breathing device. She may soon have no option for a cure except a heart and lung transplant, an extremely risky procedure. All this could have been prevented in her infancy by closing a small congenital hole in her heart. It could even have been successfully treated in later years, before irreversible damage was done. But Mariah's parents were fundamentalist Mormons who went off the grid in northern Idaho in the 1990s and refused to take their children to doctors, believing that illnesses could be healed through faith in the power of prayer. Moving on. Okay, this one is a transcript from CNN on a story they did. I'm just going to read part of it. This is Terrence Cottrell Jr., an 8-year-old boy about to start 3rd grade. Diagnosed as autistic at age 2, Terrence was not an easy child. Like many autistic children, he acted out. But in his church, some thought he was possessed by the devil. It was in this small church, led by a self-proclaimed minister, that they took matters into their own hands. According to police, in what's been described as a 2-hour prayer service, the young boy was held down in his sweat-drenched sheets by church members and his own mother. Terrence died of suffocation. Okay, this is the last one I'm going to read. Ahmad Siraji was an Indonesian serial killer who admitted to killing 42 girls and women between 1986 and 1997. His victims ranged in age from 17 to 40 and were strangled after being buried up to their waists in the ground as part of a ritual. He buried his victims in a sugarcane plantation near his home, with their heads facing his house, which he believed would give him extra power. He told police that he had a dream in 1986 in which his father's ghost directed him to drink the saliva of 70 young women so that he could become a mystic healer. Siraji thought it would take him too long to encounter 70 dead women singly, and so he took upon the initiative to kill. As a sorcerer or dukun, women came to him for spiritual advice, making themselves more beautiful or richer, or so he could cast a spell on their spouses so they'll never have an affair. He would take them into a sugarcane field and bury them up to their waist, claiming it was part of the ritual. He would then strangle them until they were dead and proceed to drink their saliva. After, he would strip their clothes from their bodies to accelerate decomposition and bury them back into the ground with their heads pointing toward his house. Siraji stated the following to police. My father did not specifically advise me to kill people, so I was thinking it would take ages if I have to wait to get 70 women. I was trying to get to it as fast as possible. I took my own initiative to kill. I mean, this is where this kind of belief in this bullshit leads. I've already said enough. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.